You know, like I said, then I moved to Florida in 1990. I said, you know, love Boston, it's my home, but, you know, things are changing. The music was changing again. It was going into that pans type music, you know, with a lot of the tribal and banging. And, you know, so that was the thing. And I said, let me move to Florida. There's a disco on every corner in Fort Lauderdale, you know. I said, it's still going on there. So I'll move down there and whatever. And all of a sudden that word circuit came out. 1990-ish, 1-ish, 2-ish. Right. And it was all about, you know, getting a manager and going around to different places, whether you could play fabulous or not or whatever. And some guys were great at it and some guys weren't. And I thought about it, but unfortunately in 92 I got very, very ill with colorectal problems, which rendered me useless to work, basically. You know, I mean, when your plumbing goes, it's really hard to get festive and do that for 6 or more hours, you know. So my career just came to a grinding halt, and it was basically just trying to keep alive at that point. And I was still working.
And you were only in your late 30s, early 40s.
40s, right. Yeah. So, you know, my chances of being a circuit DJ kind of went out the window at that time. But the thing was, too, Brian, I never liked traveling. You know, I did it one time in 1982. Somebody heard me at Buddy's, and they brought me down to San Antonio, Texas, to this Bonham Exchange, which is still there. It was like a big Lansdowne place. But I went down there and I had to go by myself, you know, and bring all my records, you know, irreplaceable stuff, you know, and put it in the bottom of the plane and go there and play to these people I never saw or heard in my life, and, you know, be fabulous, you know. And the week before I went there, Sharon White was there, you know, so they were all talking about Sharon this and Sharon that, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do I need to go out and get my Valium prescription re-upped? But no, it all worked out well, but I really didn't like it. And the arrangements for sleeping, I had to sleep in some bartender's house with 8 other people sleeping there on like bathhouse mats. And it was just like no privacy, and, you know, I mean, Friday night was great, Saturday night not so good, because I didn't get a good night's sleep, you know, and I, you know, just wasn't really with it.
And I mean, you know, a lot of people think that DJing is sort of a glamorous thing, but it's not in a lot of ways.
No, it's work.
It's work.
It's still a job.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to do that job if you want to have that job.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I still played in Florida, you know, when I could. Yeah. You know, but finally, that bar closed, the 825. They had 3 different owners. Yeah. And the guy moved the bar over to another part of town, which was not very gay friendly, like it is now. Okay. Yeah. And Robbie Leslie was hired, and I worked with him. Yeah. And they fired Philip. Okay. So it was Robbie Leslie and I, and we were working, and that bar died a slow death, honey. You know, and they had drag queen shows and strip shows and every show that they could possibly do to get people up in there. And it was archaic disco. It had been in, you know, hiding for probably 10 years. It looked like Studio 54 with the spinning old lights and all of the old shit. There was no, you know, smart, intelligent lighting or anything like that. So, you know, Philip fixed all of everything, and, you know.
Well, that must have made things tense between you and Philip when you got fired, then, wasn't it?
No, not really, because, you know, we respected each other's whatever. And we knew the story. You know, I would tell him what happened, he'd tell me, you know. And, you know, see, that was the one thing that we always had, that we really always loved each other, you know. From the very beginning when I met Philip, just that instant, he felt like a brother, sister, father, mother, part of my family. It was just that easy. And, you know, we never had, even in 39 years, not even one awkward moment, you know. And so it was really meant to be, and that really so helped me getting through that DJ thing, because I often wondered how, you know, Danae and Wendy always had a girlfriend, you know, but Danae, he did, but very dramatic relationships, tape decks going out windows, and, you know.
And so he handled a lot of his own things alone. I mean,
yes, he did. He was a tortured soul. And of course we all knew him as, oh, that's him, you know, he's just such a drama queen anyway, he always was. But at the end, you know, they asked him, he was in the hospital at Boston Medical, and I called him up from Florida, you know. They couldn't talk to him, he had the ventilator tube down. And the doctor had asked him, he said, you know, you're going to have to give up liquor. That was his only vice, and he said, I'm not giving up liquor. He said, it's one of the few things I enjoy in life. And to really do that, because he needed a liver transplant, you know, his liver had shut down. And he just didn't want it. He just didn't want to live. And his sister, who was 73, she came up from Atlanta. And, you know, Danae at that point, I think, was working one night a week and actually got fired just before he got sick at the machine upstairs on, I don't know, Friday night or Saturday night.
I think he was there Fridays, maybe Saturday.
Yeah, he just had the one shift.
Yeah.
And it was still a Billboard reporter, rather.
Yeah.
So, you know, they still, you know, valued his word, and he loved the job. And especially when it changed and the kids were coming up from this basement, and they would all want to dance at 1 o'clock. And, you know, he would do that tribal, different music, music to cruise by, you know. But when the kids came up, of course, his heart was still for the dancer, you know. So he really started to enjoy those lost hours when the kids would come upstairs and he'd break out and do a dance set, you know. And
that must have been Fridays. It was 18 plus on Fridays. So, yeah, they would have to close at 1 downstairs, and then anybody who was 21 or older could come upstairs from 1 to 2 o'clock.
So he told me this over the phone through Florida, and I said, well, you must be really happy with that, you know, doing what you really started doing in the beginning. Because, you know, it's really a nice change and blah, blah, blah. But then the next thing, he was going to be fired, and then we're going to have a going away party for him. And he was going to work and blah, blah, blah. And I said, fuck them. Because my other friend rolled over the coat room, you know. Yeah. So he knew all the inside gossip and everything. Right? So I said, don't you go in there and make them one more penny. To hell with them. You know, you don't need no going away party. But unfortunately, boom, it was like 1, 2, 3 in the hospital, and just went, and that was it. I never really even got to say goodbye to him, but I was so glad I had that time because, you know, 40 years, 30 years, whatever had passed. And hi, Philip.
Hi.
We're pretty much done. There's like maybe a minute or two left on the camera.
No. You can. I'm going to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So I was glad to have those last phone calls with Danae and have everything, all that water under the bridge. Yeah. And we weren't in competition anymore, and we could really talk like real friends that had been through something. You know, 40 years of discothecing, and still survived. But now he was going to check out. You know, so that was hard. But a lot of people went. So in my life, really hasn't been that bad to lose people because I've lost them left and right throughout the years. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, the most I've lost people to of my friends, personal friends, is suicide. Yeah. Isn't that sad? And you know, I used to say to myself, what is it in me that I would attract these people? And you know, you always end up feeling guilty, right? Yeah. You know, you always feel guilty. You know, why wasn't I there? What could I have done to help them? You know, this and that. There's nothing you can do. Ultimately, when they make the decision to go, boom, they do it. You didn't give them none of the pills.
We have like a minute or two left, maybe, to talk about Caril, if you want to at all.
Oh, I mean, sure.
Did you go to her store?
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody did, right?
Absolutely. That happened, and it was a lot. I think it had to do with Danae too. Although Danae would not admit to it because it was a conflict of interest to have a record store and be a Billboard reporter. So he was kind of like a silent person. I never saw Danae in there, not one time ever.
You know, he didn't spend a lot of time.
Caril would bring the records to him. So that was how I knew, you know, because I used to tease him. I said, you know, Danae, when they find out you've got this store, I know your partner's with Caril. He would turn beet red, you know, and say, you know. But I really don't think he had. But Caril was very good. She got the inputs in there, and she only did imports. Yeah. And I told her, you know, Caril, now I had moved to Florida eventually, and she still had the store. And I said, you know, Caril, down there, you know, they sell all the domestic shit too, you know. And
she started carrying a little bit of domestic stuff. Well, but it was only like the best domestic stuff that there was. I mean, you know, her taste level was pretty high, so I mean, she didn't traffic in crappy stuff.
No. And she had a nice little store, and you could listen to music there, and she was go right ahead and turn it on, whatever.
I loved hanging out there because it was like being in a barber shop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like you'd hang out and talk to the other DJs.
Yes, and we'd go in and have great conversations.
She'd play music, and
she had great stories to tell. That's why, you know, I mean, Caril's in I don't know where she's in now. We haven't kind of dropped out of communication.
I talked to her on the phone a weeks ago.
You did?
Oh, yeah. For quite a while.
You know, at that time, we had a falling out over the phone in Florida, and she said, you know, I got to give it a rest. I don't want it. And I said, well, Caril, what did I do? What did I do? Nothing. It's me. It's me. And I said, all right, you know, so that was the end of that, you know, unfortunately. People do what they do.
Well, everything changed drastically for her after her health started to go, and she retired from DJing, and then she gave up the store.